Hey, welcome everybody to Pro Mindset Podcast. Today we have somebody all the way from the UK. He is Chris Broomhead. And Chris, I want to welcome you to Pro Mindset.
Good evening, Craig. I'm glad to have
Okay, so I got to give you the intro. The intro on this gentleman is that he's new age. He's new wave. He's cutting edge. He's all those things in sports and in health that a lot of us don't understand. He basically is a Dubai-based biotech pharma founder and performance coach. He translates peptides and GLP-1 into safe, scalable protocols that break dopamine loops and rebuild high performers from the cellular level to the competitive arena. So a lot of us don't really understand this. I understand some of this because of my athletes and that they're always looking for a competitive edge. And how can they find a safe method to get that little extra, to set themselves apart from everybody else so that they can recover and all those types of things. Chris, break it down to like a third grade level, what you do and what.
The main thing we're doing now is research into how peptides can be used for a lot of human problems. A lot of the peptide research that's been done in the past has often stopped with rodents. As we know, if the FDA approve a medical research structure, it would often span about 10 years, go through rodents, and then often working with sick or elderly population groups. We're talking about athletes. And one of the most common themes I saw with your podcast was injuries and the impact that has on someone's mindset when they can't train anymore. They maybe have to completely change the direction in life because they can't recover from an injury or a knock to the head, which we especially see with American football. So it's trying to explore the stuff that's already being practiced, but isn't necessarily medically approved in all the countries of the world. But as we look to different countries, we see certain compounds that fall in the peptide category are being used. And it's trying to get all that research pulled together. Now we have the help of AI. We can really kind of draw the conclusions with massive data samples and try to get real world information to help people, not just in the performance enhancement realm, but in terms of longevity in sport or recovering after a career that's been filled with injuries. I mean, it's something I've been doing at the moment, trying to actually restore the health to my body because I'm 37 and I was starting to get numbness down one arm, and that was coming from my shoulder because I used to play rugby. So it was impacting in the shoulder. That was damaged and compressed. That was leading to my hip. My hip was being guarded. And it's trying to work backwards and undo these problems and restore function as much as possible.
Okay, so break down what peptides are for people that don't know what that means.
I would now say that the new age of medicine. So we can treat specific parts of the body. For example, with GLPs, it wasn't just finding someone who's obese and saying lose weight. It was specifically targeting what is the problem with them losing weight. Often it was overeating. So if we could reduce the appetite, they wouldn't eat so much. We slow down digestion rate, then the food's going to pass through so quickly, and they're going to get to a point where they'll eat less and lose weight. We saw then that didn't necessarily get the best results because people were still very unhealthy. So it's then targeting different areas of the body to understand which areas would become most dysfunction if you were overweight and unhealthy. Then we also got peptides that work on cognitive decline and cognitive function. So if someone was with a learning difficulty or just age-related decline and they start to slowly lose cognitive function, we can improve that. We're not necessarily saying we can reverse aging yet, but we can certainly slow down the general course that we will take as we age and start to lose function. And that's the difference between just conventional medicine that kind of helps you not get much worse. And then we're trying to specifically target areas so we can think more as a sniper rifle instead of a shotgun approach. So not just broadly targeting lots of areas of the body, including side effects. It's can we specifically work on a joint, for example, if someone had lost a function in the joint because a nerve and connective tissue have been damaged, and can we restore that? Where modern medicine until now has been stalled with pain control, inflammation control, things like that, where it's not actually really helped recover that problem. So we can be a lot more specific as we go forward.
What I'm seeing in the athletic arena is, the docs, the traditional medicine, they focus on reaction. They focus on diagnosing a problem and then coming up with a plan, which usually includes surgery to help the athlete recover. It seems like peptides is more of a proactive approach. It's identifying an athlete's weaknesses, what's starting to get to a place of breaking or failing, and repairing it, rebuilding it, strengthening it so that he doesn't get in a situation where he actually needs to go see a doctor because he doesn't have that problem because it was avoided. Explain, is that a fair representation of the process of being more proactive than reactive?
Yeah, and especially if we're trying to discuss a bit more specific. If we're just saying broadly what the peptides do, how do they help people? It's quite broad. So if we try and just talk about athletics and athletic performance, recovery, and things like that for the benefit of your listeners, it makes a bit more sense. And the biggest thing when we are trying to extend someone's career, or ultimately, if someone is having a long career, it's going to really take a toll on their body, their mind, and anything in between. If we can help extend that, especially if an injury's occurred, generally in a season when you're just getting knocked around all the time. It was the same when I was playing rugby years ago. The reason I stopped was because I was just getting impacts everywhere. And my position was similar to a linebacker. You just run and get hit, run and get hit. Those guys are really going to see problems long term. And it's these problems that we can't necessarily repair from, but if we can stop them happening in the first place, and it's not just saying take peptides, it's peptide therapies along with the correct training. And that could be fascia stretch training, cognitive programming, so we can practice other movements, not just the sport specific movements, but everything around that to make sure someone's strong, fit and healthy and maintains youthful function. Whereas, when we're a child, we're jumping, running, falling, climbing. As an adult, we often stop that. And the more we can maintain that and keep elasticity in the joints, connective tissue, and just repair from injuries at a better rate. And the two peptides we would often talk about in this regard are TB500 and BPC157, which have kind of gone in and out of the clinical classifications in the United States. But for the most part, they are the two most powerful repair agents that we have. So normally, if you get beat up in a game, let's say, it would be anti-inflammatories, some other pain medications, some ice, and that does help with the initial inflammation if it's excess, but it doesn't necessarily help repair. So now we use peptide therapies along with so many other, what would be traditionally biohacking methods, but also high-level athletic pursuits in terms of cryotherapy, saunas, ice baths, cold plunge in the morning, obviously kind of the same thing, but just trying to reset the body, mind, nervous system so we can go again into training, into games, and keep that repeat performance at the highest level. Instead of seeing performance decline across a season, for example, and then season by season, that could start to decline in someone's performance and really start to shorten the career. If we can extend that, it means we put them in a much better place for their entire life. Because as we've seen, one of the biggest things, if your career gets cut short and you're mentally still in the prime, but you physically get injured and you can't come back from it, your whole life falls to pieces because your mind goes first and you've got to rewrite your whole identity, where we could potentially get someone back on the field. And then I think if you get a kind of a brush with injury like that, hopefully you see that your career has an end point and you can start mentally slowing down. Whereas I always think if you're on the upward trajectory and something happens, it's a very hard adjustment. And I've seen lots of athletes struggle with that because what do you do if all you think about is one thing and it's taken away instantly? And it's something we can hopefully work on.
Okay, Chris, it seems like peptides has a wide path of use because it can help people with their mental sharpness as they age. It can help them potentially reverse age physically and mentally. It's also for obesity. So if you've got a weight problem, it can help you lose weight when maybe every diet you've tried hasn't, or maybe you lost the weight but then gained it back. And then you've got the high performance guys. The athletes can be women, men. They're all about getting the most out of their body. And most of us can do more physically than we think we can. And through training, just normal training, we figure out that we can expand our capacity. So those are three areas that I see for peptides. Is there anything else that it also helps with?
I mean, the biggest thing at the moment is weight loss. And that's where the frontier's really taking fold. It started with, you must have heard of Ozempic in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ozempic is a peptide called semaglutide. And that's the start of the GLP sort of trend. However, it did start over a decade ago, or they started over a decade ago. I think there's around 12 analogs at this point. It was when it got to the weekly injections that we started to see a lot more applications for peptide therapies. And then as more, I would say, normal people tried, it was various peptides, whether it be recovery, TB500, BPC157, or even we've seen a lot more cosmetic recovery in terms of GHK copper being used, which is the copper peptide that helps regenerate skin, along with a lot of other benefits, but that's what people are seeing. Then it's It's what I take as well. So a lot of people say, you look really good for 37. I feel I'm aging in a better way. Whereas at a point a couple of years ago, I was starting to feel like I was just aging and really starting to feel that decline.
But everybody wants to stay young. What is,
yes.
Just so their audience hears that, what's the peptide that helps, that's a little bit of an anti-aging skin peptide?
GHK copper. It's bright blue. So it mixes it to what looks like a super serum, but you genuinely feel the difference. I mean, it's not going to see massive performance gains if you start taking one or two peptides. I think people are over-exaggerating what they actually can do. But can you gain more control of your body? Can you start to see a lot of the systems naturally regulate? Yes, because the peptides are things that are naturally produced in the body. They've just been isolated into, whether it be a pen, a vial, a product that you can take outside the body, and it increases the level.
How does peptides help your mindset? How does it help your mental happiness, mental calmness, mental clarity, all those things?
The two of the biggest ones, a lot of them kind of seem to come in pairs. I don't think that was intentional. Two of the biggest ones that came from Russia are called C-Max and C-Lank. And they were two that I introduced when I was doing a bodybuilding competition a couple of years ago. And you just feel the mental decline go down day by day. And towards the end, you can't even speak to people by the evening. And it's quite difficult to try and conduct your life when you can't even function and your body's being pushed that extreme. In 2022, I introduced the C-Max and C-Lank during the competition prep. And it was the first time I didn't see such a harsh decline cognitively. And there was some other practices going on as well. It's not just peptides are the only way. I do have to say that you also have to have fresh air and eat the correct diet, and you need to move your body and listen to music and relax and try to meditate and all these other aspects of being a fit, healthy person. You can't just take something and it does the rest for you. It doesn't replace it. Just
right. You got to get sunshine.
Makes it more beneficial. Yeah, and the biggest difference was after the competition. So I saw a big decline, started to slow it down. Afterwards, when I was throwing in more challenging stuff, when I got to more business instead of athletics, it's challenging every day. So the same as I suppose when you're at school and you're a teenager, your brain's working overtime, but it's adapting. The biggest difference I saw when I introduced those two peptides was my emotional stability was a lot more centered. I wasn't all over the place, but my ability to learn was significantly increased. So it's not that I took them and I gained more knowledge. I had to gain the knowledge, like training your brain just like you would with your muscles. It allowed it to adapt in a way that I've never seen before. And that was a massive part for me. Because instead of then declining as I got into my 30s and towards 40 now, it's going up. My cognitive function is definitely sharper than it was 5 years ago.
Okay. The United States is behind Europe in a lot of these advances. The United States, the FDA takes a very conservative approach. What's going on outside of our country that people are doing on a pretty normal basis that the U.S. will probably get to in 5 years?
It depends how far we want to go across the world. So obviously the regulations change so much across the world. And there's some stuff that I still don't really know about because even we don't have access. In the Middle East, it's a little bit more advanced, collaborative, especially in the UAE, with Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and the other Emirates that people maybe haven't heard about. There's a massive push just for advancement and to move things forward as a collective. That's seeing a lot more. We share information. It's same as there's a lot of English guys went over in the fitness world. We all used to share. And it was kind of helping each other succeed. And I see the same thing across the board when you go, especially all over the Middle East. It's like, let's work together and see how far we can get instead of, I'm going to see how far I can get and keep it all close to my chest, which sees none of us get as far. So when we work together, we'll get way further. And that's literally the biggest difference. So the United States is very flexible on certain things, but then there's the massive drawn out processes for the FDA, which are hopefully going to change with the implementation of AI, because they can extrapolate some of the data instead of just studying rodents for years, then trying to find people if it passes and working through this decade of bureaucracy. We can hopefully get it done in at least half that time. So you could see the next compound in half the time, which means we speed up 2 times. And some of the things like the GLP-1s are now going from GLP-1 to 2 compounds, 3 compounds, and continuing to extend as we realize the human body is complex and there's a lot of other things we need to increase if we want to get someone fit and healthy. It's taken a lot of time. If I can shorten that time down in between, we advance way further and we get to a state where we can really restore people's health. Because as we know, the modern day, the Western life in the UK, United States is it's very hard to navigate in a healthy way. And it's trying to then take someone before they've gone too far, which most people realize the problem before it's too late. But to get them back, if you've got upwards of 20 kilos or 50 pounds plus to lose, it's a long road. And it just beats people most of the time. So if we can keep them fit and healthy and keep them in the game a bit longer, they'll achieve the goals they set out to do, restore the health, and then hopefully take a better direction with their life as a result.
Okay, so you're from the UK. Mm-hmm. You're involved in business in Dubai. You travel all over the world. Kind of give everybody your story. What was, you obviously said you played rugby. What was your athletic story?
Well, I'm initially really overweight. So 22 years ago, I was the fattest kid in school. So in a time when there was a lot less obesity, I think there was 3 of us in my year of school. And I was just the biggest one. So I was heavily bullied, sort of social outcast, really struggled in everything. And in terms of athletics, I was the worst person. So I was like picked last on if at all, if I even did physical education, I was always like the one you wouldn't want in your team. And then as I kind of had to get the mindset first and just believe in myself and chase this. I'm going to go to the gym. I have no clue what I'm doing. Let's get better. And that got me into personal training because I wanted to help other people not take a decade to try and understand somewhat how to lose weight and feel happy, I suppose. And that went to personal training, crossed over with rugby when I was younger, into bodybuilding, and sort of all came through multiple disciplines of sport, fitness, coaching. And along the way, it's been Thai boxing, and just trying to learn as many things as I can about the body and how it works, which is sort of polar opposite to where I started. So I started unable to do anything, really overweight, and then slowly moved through to, I suppose, a fit, healthy adult who knows how to coach people. And I have done for over a decade coaching, and then moved into the sort of the biotech industry because I wanted more of a challenge. When I'd taken being obese and then losing weight, I've also had 2 tummy tucks along the way, which the peptides helped me recover from. And that was to try and restore the damage from being overweight after I finally recovered my health to a stable place. And the traveling across the world was just part of challenging myself to get out of my comfort zone after going through all this sort of up and down. I just knew there was more I could do as a human being, I suppose, and challenge myself through these different environments to go to different gyms, different environments. I'm a massive house music fan as well, which is part of what we use to be fit and healthy because it takes all over the world, and that's allowed to connect with a lot of other people. And there's just a huge crossover with being a big, fit, healthy person. And that's...
Okay, so take out peptides just for a second. What is your recipe for someone that wants to lose weight? And then you add peptides in, but is it just eat less and move more? Or is it something else?
Coming from a direction of coaching first, and obviously working with beginners for the most part of my career, the biggest problem people had was they want someone else to do the work for them, which seems to be worse now than ever. It's almost this, well, everything else is instant. Let's lose weight instantly. And it just does not work like that. It takes years to actually get the weight off and be fit and healthy and stay there. You've got to rewrite your life. It takes a long time. And if you don't have a time frame and at least I want to lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, so something tangible, you're just forever on a diet, but never actually get there. And I saw people do years where they never even lost a substantial amount of weight. Whereas the ones who came in and day one, it's like, got my fitness tracker, I'm taking my pictures. It was intentional from day one. They were the people that lost the weight and kept it off. The ones who kind of, as Matthew McConaughey would say, sort of half-assed it, they never got anywhere substantial.
Okay, so then when you factor in peptides, how does that accelerate it? What does it effectively do? Because Ozempic and some of those, you lose your appetite. Is that the game?
Well, I'll say as a professional angle, people shouldn't be crushing their appetite onto nothing. The point is we want to enhance what we do. So if there's nothing to enhance, you're taking more of the product of anything, trying to achieve a result, and then along with that will come side effects. Whereas if you start dieting and you get a bit hungry and you get a bit tired, and then you put in something to restrict your appetite and reduce cravings, you're going to get a much better result than the person who takes a GLP, Ozempic, Mounjaro, and they take it and then just don't do anything. But a lot of it's because they've been told that this, from a marketing perspective, well, you take this, you lose weight. And we still don't have anything that does that. It would be nice, but you still have to do the work. And you can't get away from the work. No matter what you do in life, you have to do something.
Yeah, I think everybody would love to have a pill for every problem they have. Pop a pill for this and pop a pill for that. And, I think discipline is the magic word behind what you're describing, because people do the work, but can they be disciplined about doing the work? Because, athletes, doesn't matter what you do. If you're trying to expand your capacity, you have to do it consistently. And that takes discipline. Anybody can do it one time, maybe for 1 week, maybe for 1 month. But what I'm hearing you say is that you have to make a lifestyle change of some type that's in alignment with whatever your goal is, not just saying that you want to lose, 40 pounds. You've got to make a lifestyle change that's in alignment with someone that's going to weigh 40 pounds less.
You've got to become the person first. And one of the biggest caveats with a GLP, for example, we can now take something to now not feel as hungry and lose weight almost effortlessly, but you rob yourself of the reward of the person you become from that hard work. You've done the same as me. When you challenge yourself to something physical, you are a different person at the other end. Like when it's really hard. So whether it's a pre-season that just hurts the whole time, you do that for a reason. It's the mindset's going to change. But if you don't have the difficulty, there's not really much value. And I've always said that, yes, we now have there's various enhancements to help someone lose weight, build muscle, whatever they want to do. But if they've never actually done the work in the first place, they've never become the person. You've almost cheated the results, and you seem to lose them just as fast. The people who are going to stay in the game are the ones who've done the work first and then realized, let's see if I can make this easier. But you've got to go through the hard diet, the hard season. Like I've done some stuff in bodybuilding that was insane. It was so hard. You thought you were going to die sometimes, but that's here. When it's the night time and I'm doing the second hour of the day of cardio, I've already done 20,000 steps as well. I can't even move my legs. There's no stimulant. There's nothing you can take that gets you through that, because it's just do that until I collapse on the bed asleep. And so I used to be in a mindset where you go into a dark hole and you just persevere and you cover up the time and wait for the beep at the end, and you just go into a different world. That can only come with taking yourself somewhere else. And that's comes from within. It's not something that you can take and shortcut. That's just a thing you have to earn, I suppose. And I always encourage everyone to do that first, then think about making it easier. Don't make it easy before you even started playing.
Okay. Do your best at describing the positive impact of doing something harder than you think you can do it. It's like you do it. It's something you don't think you can do, but you work towards it and you actually accomplish it. What does that do to your identity? What does it do to your mindset?
Oh, it gives you power. So,
Power.
Going in from, obviously you worked from more around high level athletes. When I've trained someone they're in their 20s, they've never exercised, and they'd come in and say, I've never done any exercise before. It would blow my mind. So I just think you've gone through life and you've never actually put your body under any stress. So any stress it gets put under, it starts to freak out. And I've had people struggle doing like 10 bodyweight squats in the gym. There was one client who struggled to get up off the sofa because he was so out of shape. He didn't have the strength to stand up. He'd have to go on his hands and knees and climb back up. And that's so many people these days. Whereas if you've never done anything hard, which is put someone in that kind of state, everything is a win. So you have someone come in and I'd give them a lightweight that both of us know you'd be able to lift. And they say, I can't do it. They've not even moved it. And some people have been moving something saying, I can't. So their self-talk is just, I can't. And this is like a bicep curl. If you're struggling with something so minor, saying, I can't. Imagine if something was actually going to be challenging. So that could be getting a new job, saying something because you don't agree with it, just putting your foot down, just anything that goes against the flow in any way. The average person is there. And then you put them on something that feels uncomfortable and they say, I can't. And I know it's well within the realms of what they can do. And that little thing, they go, I did that. And you see this little like spark of energy that they probably never felt. And when we start to stack those together, you start to really empower someone to change their life. And I saw it every time I got someone in shape, they started to change other things in their life, whether it was the relationships, the job, the living situation. Even some people moved country. It was complete life changes. Because if you said, well, if I did this, what else can I do? And it's a knock-on effect of, if I did this thing that was hard that I didn't think I could, what else can I do next? And you start just moving on to bigger and better things. And before you know it, you could be taking on something that seemed impossible with such confidence and clarity, knowing exactly what you're doing because you believe in you.
1000% agree with you. I think that every single human has a handful of things they either want to start doing that they're not doing, stop doing that they are doing, and they don't know where to start. And they don't know how to be successful with change, because change is hard. Our mind always wants to take us back to our comfort zone, which is who you were, not who you want to be. And so in that struggle that all of us go through, it's a mental game we're playing. Once you show yourself the power of one, once you do it in one thing, you're unstoppable. And that is what you described. I mean, it's like you start seeing change all over the place because I figured out the game of change, which is doing something today that you really don't want to do so that tomorrow you can be somebody or do something that you really do want to do. It's almost like delayed gratification too, because, very few things in life you could be at the casino and you pull the arm and you win some money. That doesn't happen in life. You put in the coins every day. And maybe 3 months later, a little bit's changed, but maybe your friends are not saying, hey man, you look great. That might take 6-9 months. If it took you 20 years to put it on, you're not going to take it off in 3 weeks.
It's why I see such a benefit from people actually doing sports, because you can't do something in a week. It's a season. It's a year, 2 years. And you've got to do the work every day now to have the thing, however far in the future that may be. So you learn delayed gratification. Whereas I think the world around us has taught so much instant gratification that the idea of waiting a week for something is a long time. So if you say to someone, it's going to take a year, straight away they go, no chance. But if you work on yourself, you know it's, I mean, I've been 9 months so far this year, and it's been a journey of self-improvement that I thought would take 6 months maximum. It's not even halfway done. And it's having the ability to kind of lock in and say, I'll find joy along the way. But the thing I want is quite far away. Understood it was going to be at least 6 months. It may be longer. And then, as you're getting closer, you think, okay, it's not quite there yet, but I want to stick with it because I know that I will see it through. And on the other side of this big hill that I'm climbing is the goal I've been working so hard for. And it will feel amazing when I get there because it's been so hard.
Well, one of the things that I see is that you're actually embracing the journey, and that it's almost a blessing that it might take you a year and a half, 2 years, because if it only took you 6 months, it would be too easy. And so who you're becoming, that identity of the person you're being to be in alignment with that new dream, that new goal is exciting. It's motivating. It's encouraging. It's validating. It's all those things that give you momentum so you can keep going. Because I think one of the things we all struggle with is we want it now. We want that instant gratification, and we don't want to put in the work. If we're going to put in the work, we want instant results. And it's like the real joy in life comes from the journey of doing it more than reaching these like mountaintop experiences. You're actually getting a chance to feel good about yourself every single day on your journey to whatever you're trying to do. That will be way more than the joy you're going to feel on the day that you actually attain it.
So I thought the picture of my first bodybuilding win, it took me 17 years to win a show. And it was one of the most empty feelings when I actually got the first place trophy. I thought I'd be not so much. I had a lot more of those internal cheering for the moment along the way when I'd done something like the second hour of cardio that I thought I was never going to make it through. And I realized I had so many of those along the way. And on the actual day, I just felt I expected this, done all those things. I expected this to happen. Whereas I suppose if you'd not done the work, you probably take a lot more satisfaction in the win. Whereas when something's really hard to attain, just climbing that mountain, you know after a certain point that there's very few people that are going to be crazy enough to keep going this far. So you just think, well, I know that every day that I continued on this road, there's going to be next to no competition because it's just incredibly hard. It would be insanity to say I'm going to go on this journey. And when it's been so many years and it's one goal stacked on top of another, and almost like you can only unlock the harder ones when you've reached a certain goal. Like you couldn't just go and play in the Super Bowl. You've got to go in levels. So you get a huge win every time you go up to a new level. And it's what most people don't really see that, well, when you get to the Super Bowl, if we use this as the best example, there's so few people that have ever even stood on that field that you're in such an elite class just being there. And I took a lot of joy in noticing those moments like, whoa, just being on this stage, on this level, puts you in a category on its own. That is a victory. And there's so many that aren't solely resting on, did you get first place? Just being at the competition, just getting through those days, just climbing those mountains over and over is a massive win when you look to the side and think, I've outworked everyone I believed I could. And you kind of, the people who find each other at the end, I always think, the higher level competitors, you have a camaraderie because you know how hard it is to get there. You know what you've gone through. And maybe in the younger years when people are doing any kind of athletics, it's a little bit more dog fight. You're kind of at each other. As you get a bit older, it's kind of a brotherhood I see in any sport that I've been part of, whether it's been doing it myself or coaching people. There's always this sort of support network when you get into the deeper ranks. And it's really nice to see.
You said three things that are really wonderful. One is the brotherhood, because that is so true, especially in individual sports. There is a genuine respect and brotherhood in the martial arts, all those sports where it's you and you. And the second thing you said is, with the competition, and the competition is you. The competition is always with yourself. It's when you have these two things that are competing in your own head. One is the dream, the goal. The other one is it's okay to be who you are now. You can settle. You can be comfortable. You can take it easy. You can take a break. And those things are always competing, and they're in your heart. They're in your mind. And it's like, you got to choose that goal or that dream every single. You can choose it today and you can put in the work. And guess what happens tomorrow morning when you wake up? You got to choose it again. You got to choice again, because that little pocket voice, that internal dialogue that I call a pocket voice, is saying, bro, you can take a day off. Chris, you've been working your butt off. Nobody's going to know. You ain't going to lose anything by taking the day off. So it's a daily choice that you got to make. And then you're either in alignment, you have integrity in your life because you're actually doing the work that you chose to do, or you don't. And the last thing you mentioned there was purpose and excitement come from the gap, not from being there. And the gap is the difference. It's really the distance between where you are today and that goal or dream, whether it's weight, skills, whatever it is. And when there's a gap, you got a reason to work. You got a purpose. It gives you excitement. It gives you motivation. When you're on the podium, when you get the medal, the gap's gone. And guess what? You got to create a new gap. If you don't create a new gap, that's the first day of you dying while you're still living. Thoughts on that?
I'd say we're happiest when we're in pursuit, more particularly men. When I've obviously coached the difference between males and females, you do see some distinct differences. And when I've got men on harder goals, it seems to really light them on fire. And the guys that go into retirement seem to go into depression really fast because you're just not doing anything. You need to use your body. You need to have goals that you're chasing every day that give you a reason to get out of bed, a reason to put your clothes on, eat your meals, and just put that healthy routine in place. That it does seem to center around some sort of training, whether it's professional sports, whether it's just going to the gym. It doesn't matter how old you are. You need to have something. And it's something I've discussed with the older coaches of mine, friends of mine, that when you've got guys that you kind of past your sort of physical peak levels and you're not trying to get massively stronger or massively like dialed in with your body fat going down, what do you still chase? For me, at the moment, it's been trying to chase mobility and function and trying to improve my body in every single movement I can. Some of the other guys, it's a strength goal and just having something short that you're going into the gym with intent, doing something that you're trying to progress and trying to get better every day. And if you're not trying to get better every day, it's like you said, you just start to go backwards. You can't really stay the same. You could do it for a holiday, a few days after a win. You've got on the podium, definitely celebrate. You need to be present in the moment, but then it's back to work. And I think some guys go back to work too early, like I've done that in the past. Now I'll give myself the time to recover and celebrate after a big goal, a big win, whatever it may be. And then it's back into pursuit of something. And it's the time that I feel most alive. But I've always got to find something because as you get older, the goals change. It's not that they get removed. They just change for something else that's still testing you in some way. So you're always improving.
One thing you mentioned there was micro goals, especially physical micro goals, because I'm way past my prime. So for me to have prime time type goals doesn't make any sense. what makes sense for me are the micro goals, and it's like they can be a variety of different things. Flexibility, the just body control, balance, all those types of things where you kind of take it for granted when you're 17. But when you get older, those things are important. And it's like, I'm not trying to hit the golf ball 350 yards. I couldn't do it on my best day. So it's more about being accurate and having fun than it is about being like a beast or a monster in that arena. So, well, let me ask you this, Chris. What if you train me? If you train me, what do you already know about me before we even have a consultation? Meaning, like, every dude's got this. We're all the same. We all think we're special and we're different, but we're all the same. Break me down for, how you analyze a guy that you're going to train that maybe fits my profile.
It's hard with us being sat down. If I was stood in front of you, the first thing I'd do is assess someone's posture, because just standing there, someone will often expose a side that's guarded, a side that's not firing as well. And then I can do simple things like, okay, raise your arm above your head. One arm might be like this, one arm straight up. Okay, we've got a tight shoulder. And you can start working through like this. Even just simple things. Can someone touch their toes? Can they move evenly from side to side? And then once we've got that kind of physical mapping, we can see what other exercises we could do. If someone's got any injuries that they could obviously cite straight away, that really dictates what you could even do in the gym. But with some people, it depends what position you're in. You could have, obviously I can't see from here, you could have a damaged toe, and that really limits the position your foot's touching down in. That's then affected your knee, your hip, your shoulder. And if we really want to get the whole chain working properly, so we can actually get power back to your body and get the physical function back to a good level, it's potentially starting with shoes off, working through your foot, working up your knee, and starting to strengthen each line of force across your body. Because most people have these imbalances that the more years stack on top, we just forget. We injured ourselves in high school or we on the football field, and it's multiple decades ago. You've probably forgotten about the injury and the whole thing that happened. So you've just been holding it so long that it seems normal. And we have to work backwards and say, how many of these things can we undo? And it's not trying to get someone back to peak mid-20s, prime strength and speed, but can we get a good flow state to the body where they can actually, you can just do physical things. I've been trying to crawl, climb, and just move around in ways that I haven't done since I was a child. But that's the biggest place that I'd actually go back to with a beginner now if I was to train someone coming back in after a period of no training or when they're brand new to me. I always used to start with a similar sort of session, working through stuff. Now I'd throw in a lot more bodyweight movements and balance drills. Like you said, it's making sure that you can balance before you do anything else. Because it's all well and good putting a barbell on your back, but if it's twisted up like this, you might be able to go up and down, but you're not going to be moving up and down very well. So if we reset the position and maybe even get rid of the barbell, because for most people it just wouldn't fit. And I can imagine at your position of life, you've probably got shoulders just naturally rounded forward because most people do. And if you've not been working on the mobility of the shoulder, it probably won't go comfortably behind the squat bar. But it's where a lot of people would start, putting the bar on the back. I haven't done that for years. It's really uncomfortable. And I didn't do it with most clients for the same reason. The shoulders just don't go. So it's finding exercises that you can work with and if food you can work with and finding a style that works for you, because you'll know your body at some degree as well. You'll know your history. You'll know what you like. So it's very different than someone coming in with a blank slate where they've got no idea and you have to basically write the whole thing for them. With you, it'd be coming in saying, where are you right now? What do you like? What do you want to do? What do you maybe want to get back to? And then let's build a whole program around that, maybe with some rehab as well to restore some function before we can really get opened up into the full training.
Okay. What would you like to add about peptides that would be beneficial to the audience that maybe we didn't talk about?
I'd say that the most important thing is to make sure that people are using them responsibly. And it's the thing that no one seems to talk about. Please use them responsibly. Do some research first. Use a medical professional for some guidance. Don't just acquire and take things. And don't be under the pretenses that you can take a peptide and it replaces everything else. You do everything you need to do, and then you can enhance certain parts of the process you've built with specific peptides. Peptides come later as an enhancement. They don't replace. The work always comes first.
Seems like peptides are the frosting on the cake, and the cake is the work. It's like you just don't eat the frosting by itself. You make the cake first, which is all the fundamentals. So you're talking about healthy fundamentals, movement, sleep, all that stuff. Well, I want to thank you for joining me tonight for you. You're 8 hours ahead of me. I'm in the UK. I want to thank you for joining me for Mindset. Had an awesome conversation about some things I normally don't talk about. definitely talk about a little bit about biohacking and the idea of, everybody's trying to get the edge, but I feel like you've got a very holistic approach to what you do. It's not just the glitz and it's not just drugs. It's the program that has a lot of components, and the peptides is just kind of the thing that gets you over the top. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, and it's a bit that I think people don't quite marry up. It needs to be clarified from the start. If someone's going to go down any kind of route with medical support in anything they do, if you haven't got a fit, healthy body, it's not going to get very far. So you still want to try and get fit and healthy. And some people just want to try and avoid that as much as possible. But it's part of life. Your human body's meant to be used. You're meant to get out in the sunshine, like we said, and move your body in the morning, be fit and healthy. And ultimately, you can take as many things as you want, but if you don't actually live the fit, healthy lifestyle of actually using your body, eating food that it's evolved to eat, you're never going to feel very good. And that you can't change that. Hydration, sunlight, sleep, low stress environment, these things it's the way your human body is designed, and you can't avoid that. So we can take peptides to enhance, but not to make us feel good on their own. People really underestimate how many things in life, if they just adjusted their lifestyle slightly, would have them feeling a lot better and starting to achieve their goals in a much faster way.
Amen. All right, Chris, thank you. Thank you for listening, everyone, to Pro Mindset Podcast. Want to check, you want to find Chris? Chris, where can they find you?
If you search my name anywhere, it's Chris Broomhead. You'll sometimes find a musician called Chris Broomhead. So anything that's Chris Broomhead coaching, my Instagram is Chris Broomhead PT. I've actually took some time off Instagram for all of this year while I was focusing on the back end of the business and education, because I wanted to sort of level up in my own progress before coming back to social media with a different level of content. It didn't have before the professionalism that I wanted to carry. So now I'm coming back onto things with more podcast interviews and a lot more organic content that hopefully should help people get more educated in the peptide space.
That's awesome. You can also check him out on the show notes to find out his social media channels. I want to thank everybody. Go out and have a great day and live the life today that you dreamed. And to do that, do a lot of the fundamentals that Chris talked about today. Everybody have a great day. Hey, it's Craig Domann, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.